Welcome to Musings with Masterminded. Welcome back to another episode of Musings with Mastermind Ed. This week we sit down with three educators who are going to touch upon the topic of service learning trips. This conversation looks back at an article by Tina Rosenberg featured in The Guardian called The Business of Voluntourism. Do Western do-gooders actually do harm? We'll have the link to that resource in the video description. Without further ado, here's how three educators think you might use that resource in your school this week.
Hello. I'm going to share three different ways you can use the article from The Guardian on volunteerism. There's many different ways you can use it, but here are three that I think are valuable for you and your students. One is that this article is good if you are working on developing terminologies that are connected or related to service learning. So this article can help students to construct a meaning on what volunteering means. Also, this resource can be helpful to gain different perspectives on this topic. So they can deconstruct the article as a class and break it down into different perspectives. And finally, it can help initiate very important conversations about this topic and to question the level of effectiveness and the impact that this causes to communities. An advice that I would like to give to teachers when they're working with the students around discussing authentic service learning is to highly encourage students to question what they are about to engage with when it comes to service learning. Investigation is a key stage for students to begin with before they engage in any sort of service learning. The students need to identify a need or an issue, and before they dive in deeply, they need to investigate, they need to question, they need to select resources. So let students engage in this stage, and you're there to guide them. So it's important that they question and that they find out if what they want to engage with is real, if it's a real need, if it's a real issue, or if maybe they need to start all over again.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Healy and I'm a psychology teacher at United World College, Southeast Asia in Singapore. So the article that was shared with me has just come at a really great time because we've just started talking about students embarking on an individual project where they may get involved in service learning in a local community, and also my service group that tackles issues of gender inequality in education has really started to delve into the issue in a lot more depth. So a starting point that we've always kind of taken in these situations is to focus on building relationships and connections with these groups to really remove ourselves from the situation and start to embrace kind of the significance of our actions. However, the article reminded me that there is a bit more of a need for an intentional dialogue where we really need to practice reflexivity. So in particular, taking a more of a perspective approach to reflexivity where we acknowledge our own biases, the effects, both positive and negative, that we have on ourselves and others in these types of situations. And having conversations and specific activities that promote that kind of thinking is really going to help build that self-awareness amongst our students and within ourselves to what we're doing in a weekly basis and looking at the actions that we take and how we do that. I think that will then strengthen the idea that we see a partnership as a bi-directional relationship, but also really to help remove that ethnocentric bias where we perceive a culture or we perceive an issue or community, particularly from our own experiences. And I think in addition to that, considering how we perhaps are exploring issues from a privileged lens and the importance of not packaging or diluting that issue is going to be really necessary to draw students' attention to this. I think as a group that will make us a bit more accountable and responsible for advocates in particular issues. So I definitely use that article as a prompt to stimulate more discussion in the future.
Hello, my name is Clint McGowan, and I am a politics and theory of knowledge teacher at the International School of Zug in Lucerne in central Switzerland. And I read an article about voluntourism and would like to talk about how the article might be useful in discussions with students about authentic learning experiences. The article raises a number of key issues to get students to think deeper and perhaps more critically about the implications of their work and volunteer trips. For example, it raises the point that donation economies can undermine domestic production and employment, and this is something that we seldom think about when we gather supplies and take these abroad to the trips to the people that we're trying to serve. Sometimes donating money might be a better option than paying to go visit the place yourself. Donating money can help local laborers, maybe teachers, nurses, etc. That might be better, a better option, both for the locals and for the issue that we are trying to deal with, than sending students abroad with very little expertise. A couple other issues and personal anecdotes. Our school supports an orphanage in Nepal of children that have been taken off of the streets and given a safe place to live. One of the things, however, that one of the orphans once said when we were there volunteering was that, hey, you students and you teachers from Switzerland, you're like passing clouds in the sky. You're here and then you're gone. So we seldom think about abandonment issues that might come up as we make close relationships with people for the 1 week that we were there and then perhaps never see those people again. My daughter was on a service trip once to Romania where they took her around to poor neighborhoods and villages and merely showed these wealthy kind of Westerners the poverty in Romania. And she says it was so uncomfortable for both her and for the people that they interacted with there. I recently, however, had the opportunity to travel on a student-led trip to Greece, where the students raised 8,500 euros for refugees that have fled conflicts in the Middle East. And these funds were used to create some 18,500 meals and provide some emergency relief in the form of like diapers, blankets, formula and bottles. And so I've seen both sides about how perhaps these volunteerism trips can be perhaps hurtful to local economies and to the issue, but also how they can be perhaps quite helpful. Give a look at the article. I think you'll have a lot to think about and to talk about with your students if you do so. Thanks for listening.
Thanks again for watching. If you have thoughts on the article or how you might go about using the article with peers or students, please leave us a comment on the video.